We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Wednesday. We had a live yesterday. That was a lot of fun. And I was thinking earlier today that I hadn't heard from Jace in a while, our friend from Texas. So I thought, let's text Jace, see if he's available tonight. As luck would have it, he is. So, Jace, welcome back.
Well, Mike, thanks for having me. I appreciate the invite. I was actually telling you earlier that I was about to text you about being on, but I've just been working and you've been so busy with doing the lives and the guests you have. So I was like, it worked out perfect.
Well, it's synchronicity. Some people have said I'm psychotic, so maybe that was a connection there. Um,
Yeah.
anyway, you're down in Texas. We like to get an update of what's going on down that fuck fest down there.
Well, yeah, I was watching. I really kind of turned off the news. I don't really watch too much of the news, but I listen to you and a little bit of Midas Touch and some other stuff. But
Right.
like as for like ABC, NBC, I don't really watch that too much. I mean, it's kind of hard to get away from when you're viewing it. But I watch the local news, for the traffic and weather, and they're pretty good. And they had this guy on here that was reporting, and he was saying that the school vouchers are probably going to pass. They've already passed in the Senate, so they're probably going to pass in the House, but they don't think it's going to have the teeth that Abbott wants. So that's a good sign. And the guy was a reporter, and he pretty much said it's just a coupon for billionaires, for the rich, and which it is. So,
Absolutely.
and what got me about Greg Abbott is that he was down here and he was talking to he went to talk when he was pitching his school vouchers, but he was pitching to the private schools. He didn't say anything to the public schools. So
Yeah.
you'd almost have a little bit more respect for him if he could go, well, because he's told us to our face, well, it ain't going to affect y'all, which is bullshit. It is going to affect the local school districts. And a lot of people are upset is because they want to know if these school districts are going to have these private schools are going to be under the same rules and regulations as the
Yeah, that's a good point.
public schools, and they got to go the same kind of testing because a lot of the testing is bases the funding, attendance, and stuff like that. But he didn't go to the public schools and address them. And what this guy was saying, he was saying that one of the good sources down here is the Texas Tribune. They're pretty independent. I mean, they're not really partisan either way. I mean, they're factual. I mean, you read a lot of stuff on there that that there's a lot of people that have questions about stuff. Well, they're saying it's going to be $1 billion, but they say over time it's going to be $5 billion. Well, $5 billion was the amount of money that the Republicans took away from the public schools. They cut education when our economy went down, and and our economy is good right now, mostly because of oil. But it ain't. We don't know it's going to be down 2-3 years from now. I mean, are they going to take another? I mean, you're going to have that. You're going to have to fund that new beast. Because it's almost like, they're destroying the Department of Education, but in a way, they're creating another bureaucracy with all the states. So the states are under the impression, like the red states, I read something today that they don't want the Department of Education, but they still want the money. Well, I'm 52 years old and I want a head of hair. It ain't fucking happening. So we'll see what happens then.
You mentioned before we went on that people are having a little trouble with one of your own homegirls, Jasmine Crockett. Now, Jasmine is wonderful. I love Jasmine. I love her energy. That's the energy the Democrats should have at this point. But and she's from Texas, surprisingly. That kind of surprise. Houston, Texas, and she's been talking a bit, and apparently some folks down in Texas not liking it so much.
Yeah, I think that she called him Wheels or something like that, and
called the
don't get
Governor
me
Abbott
wrong,
Wheels.
Greg Abbott. I'm not one to make fun of somebody's disability, but I'm not condoning what she did, but in the same sense, Trump, what is he making fun of that reporter about, being disabled? What did they call it when they were talking about grab her by the pussy? It's just locker room talk. It's just Jasmine being Jasmine,
Yeah, exactly.
And I always say that, and I see it on, Facebook a lot when you post a meme, and I mean, MAGA loses their shit. They want to cancel everything. The party of fuck your feelings, because you see that on bumper stickers all the time with the Trump flag going, fuck your feelings, Trump, or whatever. The party of fuck your feelings, man, they sure are a bunch of snowflakes. They they talk about woke. I mean, woke is, thinking, they're just unhinged sometimes.
They're fucking crybabies. They get wired up about a lot of shit, and it's funny. It's funny. There's on my normal Facebook page, which I never go to. Every so often, I'll see something. And I have a high school teacher who's still on that Facebook page. He goes to all the reunions and stuff like that. And back in the day, he was kind of a hip, cool, mod '70s era young teacher. Now he's like, in his 80s, and he's a fucking curmudgeon, and he's a Trump humper. And it was funny, and I took a lot of pride in him, what he said. He said, I commented on some ridiculous bullshit he said. And I used to do that a lot on my own page. And then I just quit doing it because I got onto other things, rational boomer and all that stuff. And he says to me, "Oh, Mike, you're back here crying again. What were you hiding for the last 4 years?" And I go, "Yeah, I was hiding." I said, "No, I was in bigger, better places talking the same shit every day. I just thought I'd give you a little exposure for once because nobody comes to your motherfucking page." And it's they do get whiny and they cry. Tim Walz said something about being able to beat the shit out of a Trumplafuck, and they just got all wired up. "Oh yeah, well I'll fight you. I'll fight." We had this one kid from my part of town. I knew his brother and sister. He's just a dumbass Trump humper. He's stupid. He says, "Oh yeah, Tim Walz wants to fight. I'm from the south side of Minneapolis, where I'm from. I'm from the south side. I'll kick his ass." I said, "Bobby, I'm from the south side too. And you and I both know if you were really tough, you'd go to the north side and see how long you fucking last up there, you dipshit." Because north side is predominantly black and it's a little rougher area. And I have a lot of friends from up there. They wouldn't cotton to a racist up in that area.
Yeah, I went and saw the couple months ago the Bob Dylan movie.
Yeah, great movie.
I'm not a big Bob Dylan fan, but I'm a big fan of kind of the guy he is and the songwriter, because he's written some songs that, I mean, you didn't even know that the other artists have sang that are just phenomenal. Yeah. And I was watching that stuff, and he had a good point on there that you have all these, and it was so big with all these the hippies and stuff, and they were a bunch of, they wanted to change the world, ban the bomb. And you look at boomers now and a lot of Gen X, and they're a bunch, once they start making money, they're not so great about, not all of them, but they're not so great about helping your fellow man, smile on your brother, or, have love for one another, whatever that song goes. A lot of the older folks, and it's mostly a lot of older folks are, and I put Gen X in there too, because there's not much of a difference between us. But my God, it's like, they're just so, I had one of them tell me that he just wants to be left alone. And I go, well, what do you think the gay people and the transgender people do too? They just want to be fucking left alone too. For the, looking at the population, the 5% or the 5 people that you may know that are transgender, they're not the one fucking around with kids. That's priests and stuff. And that's,
Republicans.
There's Republicans in the news that are doing that shit. So it's like, don't put your misguided hate and anger. It's like the Grindr app, like at the Republican National Convention, they crashed the Grindr app, which is a gay app. And it's just, there's something in there that I just don't get, to where we went from with so much hope. And, and Dylan was before my time. I remember that, the 80s and 70s and 90s especially. But grunge was like that too. When grunge came out in the 90s, it was kind of you had all the hair bands and heavy metal in the 80s. Then you had to kind of I guess a woke movement with, grunge, all the excess and stuff like that. But it's like, music needs music. I'm going somewhere with this, but I just don't get the boomer and the grunge crowd that we believe that we elected Clinton because George H.W. Bush he couldn't find his way through a grocery store. I mean,
Right.
we were the party that grew up with, AIDS. That was a big thing. And it's like the boomers, it's like, how did you go from the Dylan crowd and even like the Pearl Jam crowd that, they're advocates for, human rights. And now those same people that they still love these bands are Trumplafucks. And there's a example, there's a band called Rage Against the Machine. Tom Morello, he is like freaking Marxist. He admits it. And they talk about, you listen to their lyrics, they talk about, the same ones that did this were the same ones that burned crosses. I don't know the lyrics all there, but I got some Trump friends that they like that shit. And they love that. And I go, you know what that song's about? And it's the same thing with probably the Trump-a-fucks or the boomers. They probably love Dylan. They probably, all that stuff. And it's like about, John Lennon was the biggest, hippie there was, but he was on an enemy's watch list from, Nixon would have been Trump. I mean, Trump is worse than Nixon. I mean, what he's trying to do, I mean, it's just, it's like when you make the money, it's like, you don't want to share it. It's like you must have not really believed that, like, oh, you want everybody to share when you're younger and poor. But once you get money, you become greedy. And that's just something I've seen with, Generation X and the boomers. And not all of them, because where did those people go? I know they all haven't, that went to Woodstock. They all haven't died.
No, they haven't all died. And I remember being in the early to mid 60s, and I was very young at the time. But when I was watching that Dylan movie, I was thinking about this because I lived in South Minneapolis, and we would go up to Columbia Heights or someplace in the north where my grandparents were, and we'd always drive through town. And we drove through this area of town called Cedar Riverside or Seven Corners. And this place was a hotbed for hippies. And I remember my brother and I being 5, 6 years old, looking out the windows at the hippies as we're going by, just laughing our asses off because they're hippies fucking everywhere. But those coffee shops where Bob Dylan played are right there too. So I'm thinking to myself, I could have been driving through there where Bob Dylan's just starting out in coffee shop there. Now, he wasn't really in Minneapolis playing that long. A lot of people think it was all through the 60s. It wasn't. I think he was out of there by 63. But it was just a cool vibe seeing all that stuff. And I remember my father was in advertising, and he worked something out where my brother and I and my sister were going to be on this game. He had a toy company that was my dad's client, and we go to this photographer's house. We're going to take these pictures. I don't think it lasted very long because I never saw the game, but his son came home, and his son, you looked at him, nice kid, clearly was a hippie. And all I remember is my brother and I walked up to him and said, "Can we see your room?" And he lets me in the room, and there's black lights and posters and love beads all over the place. And when we went back to school, we thought we were the coolest motherfuckers ever because we were in a real hippie's bedroom. We actually saw a real hippie's bedroom. But you're right. These are the same people, love, peace, free love, all this stuff. Next thing you know, they're driving a Lincoln Continental and money grubbing motherfuckers. And I do think it has to do with a couple of things. I think it has to do with, as you get older, you realize you got some responsibilities and you're very careful about it. But some people go over the top about it, and they do become greedy and selfish and all that sort of stuff. So anybody's it's not a person thing. It's almost an age thing. I got to get mine. And that's the society we're living in now. Everybody, I got to get mine. I don't care about anybody else. And it's kind of reminiscent of the 80s. The 80s was kind of like that. So it's like we're reverting back to the 80s now.
Yeah, kind of brought that up because our leader of our Senate, Dan Patrick, not to be, confused with the great sportscaster. No, that Dan Patrick's great. This the other one. He's been on a war against hemp because Texas passed a law that they let hemp products go. And I don't smoke marijuana. Me and Bill, we don't inhale. They have a bunch of dispensaries, and like I'm not confused with it. I just know that I get drug tested at work, so I just keep my nose clean. A Miller Lite here and there, that's fine with me. I'm not much of a a hippie in that sense. But he's trying to pass. He didn't understand it. So what does a Republican do when they don't understand it? They try to destroy it. So it's done great for. I mean, it's not quite legal here like it is in like what Colorado and other states
or Minnesota.
Yeah. But I mean, it's something to where I know that like the hemp products. I mean, they're like that's good for your dogs. I mean, people buy that stuff for your pets. I mean, that's good for them. It's good to calm them down. And he was trying to be about Mr. Badass. So I don't know if you remember. Do you remember what clove cigarettes were? They were like kind of flavored cigarettes back in the day.
Yeah, kind of. I do.
Yeah, they have a well, they banned those because, like, I remember when I was growing up, or when I was that age and I was a smoker, that they would be like flavored cigarettes, which it's kind of gross. You're not really going for flavor when you're smoking. You're just trying to get that nicotine buzz. Well, they banned clove cigarettes because kids are on them. Well, now they're banning vaping because kids are I see these vaping bans and they're like worse than cigarettes. I mean, you almost get like a felony now if you get caught with, cigarettes. Back in the day, they just threw them away. But he went to the store thinking that somebody would card his ass to buy some CBD or whatever. So he's there with all these cameras and they card him. And he's like, "Oh, you're carding me?" And he goes, "Sir, we card everybody." I mean, it's kind of, down here, it's more CYA. I mean, you go to a there's a adult video place. I've heard, I haven't been there on my own.
I hear a lot about it.
Too. Yeah, they card you too. I mean, you're 85 years old. They're going to card you because they're covering their ass because that's how oppressive Texas is. Well, they carded him. Well, that wasn't good enough for him. He's got to go and ban it. So it's like Trump with the Department of Education. He doesn't understand it. Republicans don't build anything. They just destroy shit. Not fix it, destroy it. And he's trying to go after this now. Well, they're saying it passed in the Senate. The Senate is kind of like what the House is more crazy stuff are kind of going to get through. It's like the direct opposite. The House is more, kind of thinking about it. That's why they do the thing in the House, and then it usually passes in the House because they have an agenda. They're MAGA, and Dan Patrick, I think even contributed to Ken Paxton's, but he was overseeing his impeachment trial. That's how fucked up Texas is. Well, they want to ban it now because Dan Patrick, they don't. It's gonna, like, all these businesses are, and 63% of voters, even Republicans, don't want it banned. But the Republicans are on a real kick now. I've noticed is that nothing is scaring them anymore. These town halls aren't scaring them. It's like they know this, but I think in Texas he may have a point because look what happened to our power grid. Grandma and Grandpa got frozen because of the incompetence. But Greg Abbott wins overwhelmingly. I mean, they don't even give Beto a chance. And I know Beto wasn't perfect, but my God, he was the best candidate they've had in a while. But, and I see something with the Republicans that it's a lot different, being a Republican voter. I've always kind of voted for who I liked. Republicans, especially the ones I know and down here, they're going to vote for the party no matter what. And I know you're seeing them go after, these different Republicans, but, we're in this mess because they keep voting Republican. Nothing's going to change unless they don't vote, quit donating money. I hate to say it, in Texas, it's probably going to, it's continuing, but they don't care because they know they got the voters.
Is there any hope in Texas that people will catch on and say, hey, they're fucking us over. We don't have a power grid. They're taking away things we want. What's it take to get the electorate to vote for their best self-interest? It amazes me. Is it stupidity? Is it bullheadedness? Well, what the fuck is it?
Well, a lot of it is like Kamala. I didn't think she'd win tech. Well, I know I was really wrong about her. Way Texas voted, the country voted. I thought, Kamala may not win Texas, but I would, thought, Ted Cruz would lose. If you vote Ted Cruz back in, my God, the worst thing about he left his dog behind when he went to Cancun or Cabo, wherever. Don't get me wrong. I love Cancun and Cabo. Don't get me wrong. But when your state's going through this and then you leave your dog behind, it's just like, that should have made him lose right there. But Texas has this thing that it's like I don't know. I don't think there's any, I don't know if there's any hope down here, because it's like, I thought surely after, what happened at Uvalde, or, what happened, and Beto was there challenging Abbott. He was there, trying to do this, and people overwhelmingly voted for Abbott. I mean, Uvalde was red, solid red. And it's like, God, there's not, if that won't do that with, if, I mean, yeah, they blame the officers that were in charge of that, but it's like, I mean, it's like, them blaming Biden for the freaking people coming across the border. Biden is not technically responsible for that. And I know Abbott wasn't there in Uvalde, but it's like the Republican voters, if there's a D on there, they think they're a bunch of pussies. They think they're, and I mean, when Trump comes along, he's that guy that just, is just that fucking asshole that they like so much. And that's what a lot of my people that I know, well, I just like the way he is. And, fucking around. I mean, and you tell them about the January 7th stuff or 6th stuff, you tell them about all this shit, and then they're fine with it. Well, those people had a right to protest. I mean, there's nothing that man can do to a lot of them that won't. I mean, he held a Bible upside down. He says 2 Corinthians. That guy is about as Christian as I am. The only difference is I don't worship myself like he worships himself.
Right. Well, the thing about it is that if you vote for Ted Cruz, if you vote for Greg Abbott, even after all you've seen, if you vote for Donald Trump, part of me says, all right, well, then you get what you deserve. And I hope it's very fucking painful. But I've talked about that in terms of the messaging for the Democrats. I tried to make that point. I tried to figure out why people like Donald Trump, and I've had Trump-the-fucks on before, and I ask them, and they say policies, and they can't quote any policies. And what I've come down to feel or believe why people vote for him, it is they're fanboys or fangirls, and they just like his tough vibe, even though he's not even tough. So I think we as Democrats should take that that same strategy. Be tougher, get in people's faces, call them motherfuckers, call them pussy ass bitches, sound like anybody you know. What I'm saying is you all motherfuckers need to act like me. Get in their faces. Don't be afraid to say some shit, because they need to hear it. And that's what they'll respond to. They may not vote for you, but they'll back off from you because they respond to brute force in a sense. It's not really brute force, but you deal with bullies by pushing them down. Donald Trump or any of the Trump-the-fucks. But you're right too. Once you do push back, then they play the victim. I had this guy. He knows he's losing with the Trump-the-fucks, with everything going so wrong, and he says, "Why can't we? We're all Americans. Why can't we just come together?" And I explained to them. I explained to him. I said, "Look. If you want to have a separation between us because of politics, that's fine. Maybe we can come together with that. But if you were part and parcel to undermining elections, overturning democracy, overthrowing the government, there is no compromise there. There is no in between. That is unforgivable. Once you've sided with that, I'm sorry, there will be no unity because we are not the same, and I will never forgive you." And that's what I'm thinking is when this is all said and done, there's going to be a lot of shamed motherfuckers looking for some sympathy or for forgiveness. And I'm guessing there ain't going to be much.
Well, I think I'm not quite sure that's going to happen. I mean, look what he's done so far. I mean, he tried, with the January 6th, the guy, they had no shame. I mean, it's like, you talk about the fanboys on the male side, but a lot of, I've seen a lot of, wives and girlfriends vote along with their husband because, hate to say it, they're subservient to their husband and boyfriend. Right. That's why you had the Democrats, like we're saying, like, well, they don't know who you're voting for when you go in that booth, evidently it wasn't Kamala. We know that now, but
right.
but you have that a lot of that too, that they're subservient. They do what their husband says. I've seen that a lot. I don't know if it's a Southern thing necessarily, but it's a evangelical thing. Like you can't go against your husband. You do what your husband does. That's what they always say: God and my wife and my kids. And it's like, well, if I'm married, it's going to be my wife and my kids before anything in the air up in a cloud somewhere. So I never got that either. But a lot of that yeah, I think it's going to be, but I do believe, and I've heard this a lot from a lot of people, because this was talked about when Obama was president down here. It's like the Republican Party was done before Trump. I mean, Obama, and if things would have worked out correctly, and history would have gone out, he would have won. He won, and he would have, after Obama, we wouldn't have Trump. And Trump didn't even expect to do it. The Republican Party was done, and they're done after Trump, I believe. But the thing about it is I think the Democratic Party may be done too. I don't see a lot of fight. I see fight with Raskin. I see with Crockett and AOC and Bernie. And I've come, and it's like, I used to have reservations about AOC. Oh, she's too liberal. The way the Republican Party has gone, she's a fucking moderate. And it's like, they go after her. Your girl, Marjorie Taylor Greene, today said that she's not a real woman because she doesn't have any kids. She's never been married, and she's only been a fucking bartender. And it's like, when you can't stand on facts, you attack personality. I hear Bernie Sanders, who I'm not the biggest fan of, because I think he really fucked over Hillary. And I know a lot of people don't like Hillary, but I think that's a big reason it helped her lose too. But, it's another story. But I like what he's doing now. And I just wish he was, about 20 years younger. But I look at Bernie Sanders now, and it's like I see more fight in him than I do, and than I did Chuck Schumer. And a lot of people.
Chuck Schumer's got to go. We've talked about that before.
Yeah.
All this stuff with the CR. We've said he's weak and he needs to go. And like I was saying, we need to be tougher, and he's not the guy to do it. We need somebody younger, even if it's Eric Swalwell or Jamie Raskin or somebody like that. Somebody else has got to step up and mount a fight. It doesn't matter if they gain anything. See, that's what they don't understand. As Schumer says, well, it wouldn't do any good. It would make people feel better, and it would rally people behind the Democrats to fight this fucking fight. It may be all perception, but that's all we got at this point, so fucking grab it.
Yeah, you're more worried about selling your fucking book. I got to cancel my, people might not want to buy my book because I've been over. But, and a lot of people are like blaming Biden and Kamala. I don't blame them at all. America, I mean, you believe it was rigged or not, Trump won. And the Democrats, including Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, they fucking stabbed Biden in the back. I'm sorry.
Jeffries.
I don't give him too much, because he's not really running things. He's kind of more of a figurehead. Pelosi's probably still running things. But my God, they push. And Biden was slow. Who the fuck isn't? I'm 53 years old. I'm slow. Trump, master race there, Mr. Whoever. But it's like, I don't think Biden owes the Democrats anything, because they fucked him over. And I hear George Clooney get up there. Well, I won't go back on that. Well, congratulations. You helped get Trump elected. So fuck you and your Ocean's 12. It's like Biden does the only thing. Obama, they're calling out Obama. What's Obama supposed to do?
Yeah, really, he's a private citizen. What can I do? That's all he is a private citizen.
You're looking, but that's what's wrong with the Democrats. They're not letting the younger. Obama had his time. Biden had his time. Let AOC, let Crockett, Raskin, let them have their time. And that's one of my biggest things that I had with Bernie is with Hillary. Is that no, you're just, and Hillary wasn't, the most perfect bear, but you had your time, let this happen. But that's the Democrats just, and I know Bernie's not a Democrat, but it's like they trip over their own dick. It's like, like Chuck Schumer. It's like, why is, and they say AOC may primary him. I hope she does.
I do
I mean,
too.
he had a good run, but he needs to go.
I will say this about Joe Biden, though. I think Joe Biden and the Republicans fucked up. And hindsight is 2020. But if Joe Biden had stuck with what he was going to do and not run in 2024 or 2020 or 2024, if he had not, if he said, I'm just going to run my term and then we're going to let the Democrats pull somebody else that's younger and more appropriate for this thing. Had he done that, it would have been a much different situation. But once he got on board and the Democrats were on board with him, they should have stuck with him because they gave Kamala a good run, but she only had 90, 100 days to do this. And we didn't consider how racist and how sexist this country is. So
Biden
the
deserved better.
Democrats once again fumbled. Once again fumbled, and Biden should have quit, left with a great legacy, and let us move on. Because I mean, I've had even people say, "God, I hope AOC and Sanders will be the team in 2028." Motherfucker will be 87. No,
Yeah.
Bernie's on his way out. And what Bernie's doing, he's lifting up AOC and setting her up for the future. And I appreciate that. I'm glad he's doing that.
Well, the thing about it is that Biden should have had his own way out. He should have had his decision. Should he have, stepped down earlier and let somebody? Yes, but it's like horseshoes and hand grenades. That shit's gone. And that's what a lot of Democrats I see. They sit there and you had a TikTok about that, about how they passed that continuing resolution and how they just want to still bitch about that and talk about that. Motherfucker, that's gone. And you can be angry about it. I mean, we really haven't talked about it with Schumer. I mean, I don't think about it every day. I mean, he said why he did it. I mean, it's law. You got to move on. But you can't, I mean, I see all these Democrats, a lot of them too are just hand wringing about, why did Kamala lose? It's like she lost. I mean, you got to get over it. You got to move on. Because the other side, they're sure as hell ain't fucking, reminiscing the past. I mean, he may go get some enemies, but like you said in that TikTok, it's past. You got to move on. You got to go to the next fight. Because, I mean, every day you wake up, I don't know, like me, Mike, I wake up in the morning, it's like, it's something fucking new. Yeah, I mean, it's like he signed a law today, or not a law, but a executive action about how, you got to prove your citizenship to vote. I mean, and I know you, Mike, and the way we look, we probably don't have that much of a problem with, asking for our ID.
No,
the way
I
we
have
look.
ID. I have a passport, but I got to tell you, some of those country fucks down in southern Alabama, I bet they don't have a fucking ID. So how is that going to work out?
But I mean, I'm just saying that, me and you, we don't have a problem, getting ID'd. But,
no.
It's an intimidation for people that are minorities that, may not, that may feel discriminated against, or, not so much. It's not that illegals are voting. They just want more intimidation. It's like here, you talk about people voting for Republicans. They had a thing where people would like hand out water. They banned that. I mean, my God, just giving, grandma a glass of, a thing of water. What has it got fucking truth serum in to make you blow, is it blue water to make you blow Democrat? I mean, they do this shit just to intimidate people and to discourage people. And that's why people don't fucking vote. There was a poll saying that 85% or 65% of people that didn't vote don't like Trump. Well, there you go. If you would have fucking shown up and made it, you may have made a difference. But if you don't care, don't bitch. If you don't want to show up and vote, don't bitch.
Yeah, you got to step up and do something. Like you said, every day you wake up and there's something else going on. And of course, the big thing that's going on now is this signal chat with all the security muckety mucks for the Donald Trump cabinet. All the big ones, VP, the National Security Advisor, Tulsi Gabbard, all these people, Pete Hegseth, and they have this chat about bombing Yemen and the Houthis a couple of days before. And something I've always said, we've always agreed on, is that Donald Trump and his people can do a lot of things, but the one you can put bet the house on is they'll fuck it up. They will always fuck it up somehow. And of course, they did in this situation by way of inadvertently adding a journalist, and not a friendly journalist to them, not a Fox journalist. Well, that's kind of an oxymoron, but this Jeffrey Goldberg from Atlantic, from the Atlantic, and he's sitting there listening to this, and at first he thinks he's being punked or trapped or something because it was just so ridiculous that he would be privy to a conversation on a commercial app, not even a secure app, about bombing another country. So he sat there and listened to it. And then a couple of hours later, they actually bomb the country, do what they said they were going to do. And he's going, holy fuck, this is a horrible story. And so he exposes it. He does the right thing. He doesn't give all the details, but he says, hey, this is fucked up. And then, of course, Pete Hegseth comes out and said, well, he's a horrible journalist and horrible guy. Really? Well, if he's so horrible, why did you include him in the fucking conversation? Why do you even have his contact information at all? He didn't do a damn thing except repeat what you motherfuckers did. And now they're trying to act like, oh, it's no big deal. The fact of the matter is, this may be the biggest security debacle in the history of this country. It's that bad, and we need to keep pushing on that as hard as we can.
Yeah, I guess they were doing testimony today, and one of the guy says, I mean, he pretty much, it went back, well, the previous administration did it. That don't make it right.
No.
That don't make it right that Biden's administration did it. But of course,
that was a lie, by the way. That was a lie, by the way. It was verified.
I figured it was. I figured. But it's like, of course, it's like, Trump, I had no idea what was going on. Can you imagine if Biden said that? Republicans would lose their shit. Oh my God, what? And you're telling me, Mike, that this chat thing wasn't a secured server? Who is the one that had that issue before that she had to? I mean, you don't hear about classified servers anymore, do you? I mean,
no,
Hillary Clinton, you can't make this shit up, man.
Hillary Clinton was pilloried for having alleged emails on an insecure server. Funny thing is, they never found the server, so we don't even know that it really happened. This really happened, and it's 100 times worse than what they accused Hillary Clinton of. And now it's okay. Donald Trump gets asked about it. I don't know any. This is the first I've heard about it. I compared it to that line in Gone with the Wind. I think the woman is Butterfly McQueen or something. She won a Academy Award. I don't know nothing about birthing no babies. That's exactly how Donald Trump sounds every time something bad happens. I don't know anything about that. And then he starts talking about Mike Waltz, who's the national security advisor who put this whole thing together, who fucked up. And he says, yeah, I think Mike's learned his lesson. Oh, really? Is that all it's going to take for the biggest security debacle in the history of this country? It certainly is not a two-way street here.
If it was 20 or 30 years ago, I would think something would happen, but I don't know. I mean, is anything really going to happen? I mean, Trump doesn't care. I mean, his people don't care. The media obviously doesn't care enough. I mean, I just think this will probably go away too. I mean, I've seen that guy get away with so much shit. I mean, yeah, somebody may be fired because that one guy, like you mentioned, took responsibility for it. Oh, that's awfully nice of you. But I mean, I don't know what it's going to take, Mike. I mean, national security. I mean, my God. I mean, he took classified documents. I mean, I don't know what it's going to take. And, honestly, living through this nightmare and soap opera, I think we need to name this, life of ours we have now, the Trump administration, Search for Tomorrow, because we need a fucking new tomorrow, because this shit is just Groundhog Day over and over. And I'm not confident that anything is going to happen to him. I mean, he's already, kind of like say they're not going to respect judges. I mean, that stuff today, and, Congress has always done that shit to where, like, they get people out there and they try to go after them, like, to make them look badass. They did that to the fucking, like, baseball players one time, like Mark McGwire. They made him cry, but what did it fucking do? Nothing. And it's like this. Nothing. I mean, the horse is already gone. And there ain't nobody that's going to stand up. I mean, he's already got law firms, bowing to him. I mean, I don't know what's going to, I don't, I don't have much faith in the Supreme Court for sure, but now they want to, they want to go after judges, they want to impeach judges, and, Mike Johnson wants to do that. I mean, it's what's going to stop him? I mean, I'm not being defeatist, and you always got to have hope, but goddamn, you got to live in reality too.
Well, somebody said something on a live. I think it might have been the lady called Oliver's mom, or I'm not sure, but I think that's who it was. And she says, you have to understand how it's gone in this country. We've had really good times and we've had really bad times. And it seems to be very cyclical. You're up, you're down, and it never goes back up till it completely crashes. Yeah. So I liken it to when I was a little kid running around with sticks and stuff like that. You better stop that or you're going to put somebody's eye out. Somebody's eye is going to have to get put out.
Yeah.
And that's where it will crash. It's unfortunate, but we're going to have to hit rock bottom really fucking hard before a lot of people wake up.
Trump reminds me of the, speaking, you're talking about the old movies and stuff, the, what was it, Casablanca? Where gambling in this establishment? I'm appalled. Sir, your winnings? I mean, it's like, you're fucking right in the middle of it, dude, and you're telling everybody else you're not. I mean, that's exactly, what it is. I mean, it's like God, if Biden said that, I didn't know, I'd be upset about that. And I voted for Biden twice. Or was it twice?
Yeah. I mean, if I've got somebody I voted for and they do something fucked up, I'm going to say it.
That's the difference between us and them. They will do anything. There's no bottom that he can do. I mean, we've seen it. I mean, some of the shit he's doing now, it's like, oh my God, this is really it. I mean, you think that's worse than, whatever. And it's so funny. It's something about that too, is Elon Musk is probably the one running the country, and I refer to him as President Musk because that's who he is.
Yeah.
And, I don't think it's right for them to, damage, Teslas and stuff like that, because, the dealers, there's probably a lot of people that work for Tesla that are very progressive that are probably pissed off right now because, who buys electric vehicles? It ain't conservatives, obviously.
No.
He's pissed off his worst base. He pissed off the people that buy this shit. And I don't feel sorry for Nikolai. I don't feel sorry for Elon Musk, who I freaking feel sorry for. And if boys and girls, you want to get your history books out, go to the Google machine and look up Nikola Tesla. The guy was a genius who got fucked in life. And now his name is, years after his death, he's getting fucked in death. That's who I feel bad for. Tesla's used to be a great brand. But I mean, Nikola Tesla's got fucked in death too. And it's the thing about him is that I know a lot of people that are progressive that used to love Elon. Yeah. But I know 3 or 4 of them, they've gotten rid of their Teslas. And I guess down here in Texas, it's easier to get rid of them because I guess, Jethro down, Mayberry, Trump told him to get one. So he's got to do that. So maybe they're buying them down here. But I was driving home and I saw a Tesla. And young girl was driving, and the back of the emblem, there was like a little piece of black tape. And I'm like, is that she holding it? She's holding it. Obviously I should have been driving and paying attention to that, but no, hey, why is she doing that? And then I passed her, and then on the front, on the rearview mirror, she had the same thing. So I guess that's her way of saying, hey, I'm not, I'm driving this, but I'm anti Tesla. I mean, there's right ways to do it because, I mean, it sucks, man. If you have a car like that and you can't get rid of it, but I mean, they've done it to themselves, and the people I feel bad for, they're, like I said, there are probably a lot of people that worked for Tesla that, that are probably good people that are, pissed off right about now because the guy that they, respected for a lot of people did. Hell, I did. I thought he was a goddamn genius. But, it's hard to really call somebody a genius that just bought the company. It's like a guy who's, found, who struck it rich in the gold. He just trips over a rock and falls into a creek full of gold. That's what he did. He just bought what was already made.
Well, the thing about it is that Tesla, the brand, was Elon Musk. And Elon is so arrogant, he thinks he can do anything and people will still just rally around and buy his shit. Uh, I saw him talking about them burning Teslas and all that stuff. And I don't think you have to burn
No.
Teslas. Just don't buy the motherfuckers. That will
Yeah.
sink him faster than
Trade
anything.
them
Just
in.
don't buy the motherfuckers.
Don't
And
support him.
but he was saying all I've ever done was be productive. Well, no, you're not being productive now. You're being destructive, and it's hurting a lot of people. And those people are people that buy your shit. So it's not surprising. I'll tell you this about Tesla: if they kick him off the board, make him make kick him off being CEO, that's not going to save it. Tesla's cooked. It's done. It's going to go down. There's no way that's going to come back until Elon's gone and somebody else buys it and changes the whole vision of it. But there are options out there now that you can buy other electric vehicles, including the big companies are coming out electric vehicles. You don't need to buy a fucking Tesla anymore, and nobody wants a Tesla. And Elon, did you hear that audio that came out? We don't know if it's real or not. Where
It's
Elon
not
and
real
Donald Trump are
because
talking.
it's
Is
not
this not
real
real?
because Trump doesn't, I mean, my opinion, I don't know. Trump doesn't talk that way. He doesn't reassure people. That's not
No,
him. That's got to be AI. That's what I think.
it is. Yeah, the thing about it is if it's AI, it's really good because it's not recorded right in front of him. It's from a distance, like somebody turned on a phone or something. And
They can
I mean,
do
I can.
math. They can do some crazy shit with AI right now.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty amazing. But anyway, Elon is the idea that Elon is out of his mind and suffering. That doesn't surprise me. He certainly probably is that. And everybody thought he was such a genius. Now, I never really knew much about Elon Musk, but let's see what he's done here. He bought Tesla. That's going to shit. He bought Twitter. That's going to shit. He bought SpaceX. The last two rockets he sent up have exploded. They got all kinds of problems. And when I sit and listen to him talk, this fucker does not sound smart. He sounds scattered. He can't stay on track. He stammers, he stutters. I don't know if that's the ketamine or he's just a fucking weirdo.
The thing about I have a friend of mine that I work with. He had a Tesla and he traded it in. He traded it in. But he was telling me what's keeping Tesla alive right now is that they're able to make, I guess, the batteries for the solar, I guess the backup batteries. Right. And that's what they do better than anybody. But evidently GM is working on that now. So if GM gets into it, that may be it. Because like if they don't have to buy a Tesla, they won't. They probably have to buy now because they're kind of stuck with it. Especially the people that have a Tesla that it was a great car. I mean, it wasn't because Elon invented it. It was the company that he bought, and it really sucks because there's a lot of people that work for that, and it's like he ruined the brand himself. I mean, I heard all these good things about him, and then I kind of read about him, and I always thought he was really smug. He did say something that caught my attention about that I don't know if, he's kind of like Trump. He talks out of his ass about how AI is going to take over the world and that, we're going to need like a guaranteed income. Well, what kind of socialism is that? Because he was supposedly a Democrat before. But the thing that what I really never liked Trump for that always turned me off about him was like he gets off on firing people. I've had to fire people in my life. It ain't fun. Even the guy deserves it. It's not fun. But you have all these people that are getting fired. I mean, it's ruining their lives. I mean, it's like, how? I don't know how you can just live. I mean, I haven't fired as many people as he did in his life, but thousands of people. These are veterans. These are, and there's a real misconception. What they're doing now with Social Security. I mean, they're trying to make it crash. I mean, they're closing all these offices, but they're telling people you got to go in person to change your, grandma doesn't know the laptop, so she's going to have to go inside. Well, her local office got closed. I mean, and I don't see anybody on the left raising hell about this. Yeah, I see AOC and Bernie and stuff, but the majority of the Democrats are quiet about. I mean, this is a national security threat. This is people's lives here, and it's just business as usual.
Yeah, it is. You're talking about AI, and you're kind of a tech guy, and I keep up with technology. I'm not a tech guy. And people are terrified of AI because Elon Musk says it's going to do this, it's going to take over. It seems to me, given that I'm old now, going to be 65, when TV first came around, they go, oh no, that's going to be the demise of the country. And then when the computer came around, oh my God, that's going to be the end of the country. And then when the internet came around, that's going to be the end of the country. There's going to be a lot of negative things and a lot of positive things with AI. But I want to show you something. The logo I have for Rational Boomer, I paid somebody like $100 to do it on Fiverr. And I've always wanted a different logo. So I just started fucking around on AI. Now, I'm not going to necessarily use this logo, but I punch in 2 lines and tell them what I want. And
Vegas, baby, Vegas. Vegas.
Well, it's like a 60s or 50s era
yeah, it looks like Vegas
sign.
Yeah, Vegas thing.
It kind of looks like Vegas. But yeah. You got that. And it's just incredible what you can do with it.
You need to do one of those pictures like Trump does with the muscles and the long waving hair, dude. I mean, that'll bring in the ladies, dude. Come on, dude. I think I can do that for you.
Here's another cool one, an old 50s car with the badge being rushed. I mean,
but it doesn't really
can use it.
Yeah, but it doesn't really. I guess you got to give it kind of more information. It doesn't really showcase who you are. I mean, it's. Yeah, but you would see something like that, you would think it was a restaurant or even a car dealership or something.
Well, who knows? Maybe I'll open a restaurant.
Kick-Ass Cafe, man. That's what it is.
A cartoon, a logo with a cartoon of this mug doesn't exactly impress me either. So
that's what I'm saying. You got to trump it up, man. Get the muscles, man, and the machine gun, dude. And we got to start doing that, like you said, like Macca does it, and. Mike, you started training, man, and I'll get a picture done too, man. And we'll be like we'll be the Sorrow Bros, the George Sorrow Bros.
Yeah, absolutely. When you were talking about what Elon's doing and the possibility of Social Security, and we talk about this security breach, everything. It's not just politics anymore. It's like the end of the world every time something happens. And I'm not convinced that we're coming to the end of the world, that Donald Trump will be able to actually end everything as he wants. He does a lot of executive orders like this thing with you need a proof of citizenship before you vote. That does have to kind of go through Congress and there are a lot of people. Well, the Department of Education, that's a good thing. You work for the school district. Mm-hmm. From your perspective, what they're doing with the Department of Education, how does that affect you? How does it affect your district? Or does it yet?
Well, I don't really know. I know what I've seen kind of the concerns are the special needs kids, because they did a lot of it there. Right. That's a lot of it. But, school districts are hurting already with funding. And I don't know if Texas will so much be affected as much because they kind of turned down a lot of the funding from the government. Like Biden was offering, to feed kids over the summer, and, our illustrious leader, turned that down.
Fuck
but our
those
district
kids.
Still does it. Huh? Yeah.
Fuck those kids.
Yeah. And I don't know. I honestly, I work on the technical side of it. I'm not really involved too much, but I know that, you have that along with vouchers. I mean, it's, when people, when people say that they're trying to eliminate, Department of Education and, public education in general, because they want to privatize everything. They want to do it because, that's a money hog that people have to pay into. Well, not everybody can afford that. I mean, a lot of people are sending their kids to school, and that's like the only time the kid eats. And they offer, even during COVID, they were doing that because a lot of people didn't eat. A lot of the kids didn't eat, but, school districts still do it. And there's a motto that we were always told is like that whole do more with less. And, that's what we've been doing. But you have people leaving the teacher field, and it's not because of the districts. It's because, it's like they're not appreciated, and it's just,
Yeah.
it's, I had people, it's like a government thing, the anti-government thing. Like, well, you work for the government, and I've seen teachers that I know that they're trying to, they're posting these pictures of Reagan talking about getting rid of the Department of Education. And these are teachers. And then again, I think back about that and I go, well, you do work for a private school, so of course you don't want it.
Yeah.
But it's with vouchers coming out and them doing that, Department of Education, there's a lot of oversight. I don't know if Texas will be so much hurt so bad. We're more worried about putting the 10 Commandments in the classrooms and stuff, because
got to get that done.
Yeah, important stuff, and getting rid of the hemp. But there's going to be a lot of schools that I was telling you offline that they're expecting hey, the Department of Education is going away, but they're still wanting that money. Well, I don't think look what Trump's doing to that. It's the same thing he does to FEMA. That's how stupid they are. Can you imagine if Joe Biden was letting the Carolinas burn like that's going on right now? I mean, the Republicans and the media would be all over it. You don't hear about it. You don't hear about it. And now that dog shooter, she wants to get rid of. I guess that's her. I get MAGA women mixed up. She wants to get rid of FEMA. Yeah, FEMA gets there, and yeah, they're not always probably there a long time, but my God, when you have nothing and somebody brings you some water and a blanket, it's something.
Yeah.
You're not going to have
some assistance.
Star resort hotel. It's not meant to be that way, and people, that just amazes me, is how people vote against their own interest. And that's why I quit voting Republican. Is like, well, this is, they're for the rich people. Guess what? I ain't fucking rich.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's like, yeah, it's great that, Ted Cruz and you can hang out with, Elon Musk and all that shit. But, me and Mike are the ones hanging out. We ain't rich. Why would we vote for a party that has nothing to interest? And it's just like they continue to do that. And I would like to say that what's going to save the Republican Party, in general, if there's a Republican Party, is for the older generations when, they just pass. Because, and this new generation, I don't know if they're that interested in voting. So something's got to give. One thing's going to win, but we just don't know what.
Well, I tell the Gen Zs, I said, look, you better start voting, because I'll be dead. It won't matter to me anymore. And you're going to have to live with the bullshit that's happening here. So you need to straighten it out. I talked about a millennial who was complaining about boomers who got everything and were greedy and selfish, and they've never done anything, which is absolutely bullshit. My life wasn't easy. I had to struggle and go through shit to get to where I am. And I'm certainly not rich, but I'm comfortable. Yeah. That's the thing. Don't go out there thinking you're going to be rich and famous, because that's what I thought at first. The other thing I brought up too is he said, and you guys are getting Social Security and we'll never get it. Here's the interesting thing. Back in the late 70s, around the time of Reagan, I had a lot of old people looking at me going, you're 19, 20 years old. You're never going to get Social Security. It'll go broke by then.
Heard the same
bullshit. Same bullshit. But I got to tell you, people say, how do I know they're not going to get rid of Social Security? And it's a quandary for me, because I'm using logic and common sense. And what we found since November 5th, there is no logic or common sense. It doesn't necessarily work, but it's all I have. When you have 73 million people who won't get their money, that's going to start a revolution in this country. Not to mention the fact it's going to fucking destroy the economy.
Yes.
That will be catastrophic if they do it. Not just for old people. It'll be the young people who have to take care of the old people. It'll be the investors and the businesses and everybody else that will get hit by what's crashing in the economy. I know they want to privatize it. It's kind of like the same thing. We want to shut all the borders and we want to put all these tariffs because we want to manufacture stuff here. Well, that's a cool idea, bro. But you got to build the fucking factories. And that doesn't happen in a week and a half. we're going to have to wait 10 years before we're up to that point, and we'll be hanging by a thread before we even get there.
Yeah, even the Republicans, like some of them, like John Cornyn, he knows that because Trump has talked about getting rid of the CHIPS Act, of course, because Biden came up with it. And Cornyn said that's not going to happen. And I think that pissed off our attorney general because he's supposedly going to primary Cornyn in the election coming up in 2026. I guess that's when Cornyn's up for election. That ought to be
Paxton is?
Yeah, Paxton.
That goofy looking fuck?
Paxton and him want to. He wants to primary. He wants to go after Cornyn's seat in the Senate. So, yeah, man. We can New York gave us Trump, so we can give America Paxton. So y'all can have him. So that ought to be interesting. I mean, when it was like, God, who would I vote for? I mean, who do I? I mean, God makes Paxton almost like, or makes Cornyn almost like you want to make him come over and have dinner. Like, hey, you're my buddy. I mean, that's how bad it's gotten. It's like, do I want to vote for this guy or this guy? But I don't know. I mean, it's because Cornyn is one of the few Republicans every once in a while that speaks out against Trump. So Paxton is like his right hand down here. So it's, I'm surprised he didn't try to make him attorney general. That's what kind of got me about it, because I guess he may have thought that, he was worse than Matt Gaetz. Maybe he wouldn't win.
Yeah, he would have never made it.
How bad you got to be that, he won't pick you and he picks Matt Gaetz ahead of you? How bad you got to be, man? Yikes.
Well, and it's funny, you got Pam Bondi now, who's nothing more than a Trump-the-fuck sycophant. Did you see what she was saying about AOC? AOC was talking about taking down Elon Musk.
That was Crockett, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, it was Crockett. I'm sorry. Yeah, she went after AOC too, but she said to Crockett, "You better watch your step." And then Crockett responded, and apparently she's not scared. She's not worried. Crockett is a brilliant woman. She's a great lawyer, and she's got a lot of fire. And I got to tell you, nobody in Congress, no matter what she says, nobody fucks with her because they know they're going to get pushed back. They might go after AOC. They might go after Elizabeth Warren because they're a little more subdued. They don't want to light that fucking candle with Jasmine Crockett because they don't know what they're in for at this point.
But that's what we need in this party. We need, we need younger, I know the Republicans are kind of, don't have much of a bench, but God, when Kamala was running, I thought we had a hell of a bench with, Newsom. Well, that guy's out now. But you still got Crockett. But what Pelosi did to AOC and that committee, it's ridiculous. AOC, Chuck Schumer, they need to go and go hang out at the retirement home with Biden, and now I hear that Biden wants to come back, maybe in a advisory role, but enjoy your vacation, brother. You served your country well. You've been through more human drama than anybody should. It's just, we
don't need Biden to come back.
Speaking of that, where's MAGA at when they were just so upset about Biden pardoning his son?
Yeah, well, they're still bitching about that.
What does Trump do now? He pardons his partner.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I would almost, if I was somebody that he actually was like, well, I never had a problem with him pardoning Hunter because I thought they had the case settled and it was over. They were moving on. But that guy that he was his business partner, Archer or whatever, I guess, he was a pawn. So I guess they just used him. It's like, oh yeah, we'll pardon you out there. But where is the Megyn Kellys and the people upset about that because pardoning Hunter was so bad? It's just the hypocrisy, man.
I've heard even Democrats bitch about him pardoning Hunter, and I just say, shut the fuck up.
But you're not. But that's one thing Biden did to see that he didn't go by the rules like he always did. Maybe if he would have done that more when he was running or running the country, put some fire under Merrick Garland, we'd have this shit. My God, can you imagine? Pam Bondi's done more for Trump than Merrick Garland did for Biden the whole 4 fucking years.
Yeah,
but Biden didn't ask for that shit. It's like, and she's getting away with it. And they're getting away with it. So, if they just would have, I don't know. They say, well, we didn't have time. bullshit. If they should have picked somebody better than doing that. But it's like in the past, like we go, but I'm just tired of the hypocrisy. And I get tired of the Democrats too, because it's like, well, we can't do that. That's not professional. You know what I mean? I Crockett and AOC can continue what they want. They got my votes. If they ran together, I don't know if they'd win, but hell, that'd be voting for them.
There's another person out there. Everybody's talking about prospects for being the Democratic candidate for president. Tim Walz is up there because he's kind of mixing some things
I
up.
like Tim.
AOC. Gavin Newsom is pretty much done. There's another guy
I don't think so. I don't think Gavin's done. No, I don't think Gavin's done. I don't think Gavin's done. I think Gavin is. I wouldn't put him away just yet. He may be president.
One of the things we found out when Donald Trump gets elected, they don't like establishment politicians, and he's kind of a slick establishment politician in some of the stuff he's doing. I mean, when people were saying Gavin Newsom after the 2024 election, I thought, that's too fucking long. A lot of things can happen between now and then. But there's somebody else who cropped up yesterday when they were having the hearing with all the Trump-la-fuck security people, and they were being questioned by senators. There were a number of senators, Democratic senators, ripping into these guys. The one guy that stood out to me more than anything, Jon Ossoff from Georgia, because he wasn't having any of it. He went after this guy, asked the hard questions, set him up. He ended up admitting to things he hadn't admitted to before. And then when he got nervous, he tried to do what Republicans do and talk louder and longer. Jon Ossoff says, nope, I'm talking. And he just rolled over the top of him. And Jon Ossoff has got a couple things going for him. He's young. He's white. And whenever I say that, I don't want people to think that I prefer a white person as president. I don't. I prefer the best person being president. But what we learned on November 5th, we got a lot of racist motherfuckers in this country. And at this point, I just want to win, whoever it is. I said on the live, I said, if you told me Pauly Shore could win the fucking presidential election, I'd vote for the motherfucker. But Jon Ossoff seems pretty strong. He's young. He doesn't seem quite establishment, but he does still have a slick side to him. There's going to be people emerging between now and 2027. And hopefully we will have a good roster of potential prospects. I think that's important. The whole primary thing is important. But we need one good prospect, and we can't afford to fuck this one up. It's got to be somebody who's going to win.
That's kind of why I say don't count Gavin Newsom out, because he can go on Fox. He can go on Hannity. Yeah, he talked to Steve Bannon. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with him confronting it. It's kind of like what Bill Maher said, that, you got to, expose them through the light. And I kind of see what he's doing. And I think it would be a mistake to, it would be a mistake to underestimate him, because he's very slick. He knows his shit. And, if he ran for president, I'd vote for him. Because I'm just not somebody that, when he goes on there, I don't, well, you're giving them, credit. I mean, they're already there. They're already there. You gotta sit there and you gotta, I know that you say we can't compromise with Trump-la-fucks, which I agree with 100%.
Yeah.
But to go there and to put yourself out there and do that, I don't have a problem with that. And, some people would be upset with me for saying that, but, I don't give a fuck. We're trying to save democracy. And if Gavin Newsom can get up there, I'll fucking vote for him, because I think he's maybe a good choice to win. But
it's not about Gavin Newsom having these guys on. It's the perception. It's what we talked about before. We need tough people. We need people who push the narrative and push the envelope. What Gavin Newsom did wrong on those interviews, he's joking around with them. We found out Barack Obama sits next to Donald Trump and smiles. They're mad at that motherfucker. So when Gavin Newsom sits down with these clowns and kind of takes it easy on them, They want, you know what they want? Do you remember the show I did with Brian
Oh yeah,
Wallenberg, the
yeah, yeah.
Trumpafuck? That's what they want. They want to see these motherfuckers get hammered. It may be unsavory, it may be unsophisticated, but that's what these fucking people want. These people are enemies, they're villains, and they need a champion to go kick their ass. And Gavin was just kind of playing around, trying to be the reporter or trying to be the podcast host. They need somebody who's going to go after motherfuckers because they know we've had nobody do that, and look what's happened. We've had nobody go after them, and look what's happened. The fight is on. I mean, this isn't politics anymore like we once knew it. This isn't media like we once knew it. This is a fucking street fight. Unless you're a street fighter, get the fuck out of the way.
And what's sad about it is that you can't. Well, it can't be a woman. I mean, especially a woman of color. We found that out in November because there's racist
Absolutely.
people on both sides, evidently in the Democrats too, because they couldn't vote for a
Mm-hmm.
woman. And I know people,
Absolutely.
roll their eyes when I say that, Biden would have won. It's like, well, he was out of it. What the fuck do you think Trump is? He's saying he don't know what's going on. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I just, when I saw him and he debated DeSantis, I just thought he did a really good job of it. So I was kind of giving him the benefit of the doubt. But I know I get I get what people are upset about that. I mean, Steve Bannon should be in jail. He shouldn't be out there, running anything. But he is right about Elon Musk. I give him that. But yeah, we need a fighter, and we have a fighter and not somebody that bows to it. And I get what you're saying, but I don't know, man. I mean, it's sad that it's 2025 and it's still down to the white man winning the race. I mean, everybody thought when Obama won, oh, we're turning a corner, but if anything, it just woke up the sleeping giant that is racism in this country. I mean, obviously, me and you don't see it like minorities do, but I've seen it. But it's just like it's more acceptable now, and it's just it never went away, and sadly, that's kind of what is a comment on society that we haven't progressed that much to where, because I think Kamala would have been a great president. I think America is less fortunate because we don't have that, and I think a lot of people are going to suffer because of that. I mean, has the federal government got waste in it? Yeah, but when you already passed that bill, that money is already gone. But there's a lot of people that are going to die because cancer research even got cut. I mean, it's ridiculous, man. I mean, it's, and evidently Democrats have a way of, voting against their own interests too, because either if you didn't vote or you voted for Trump, you're voting against, you're voting against your, all those people like, that old soul helps, all those people. I mean, it's just, America is big enough to help people out. It's enough to, build a bigger plate, not a bigger wall. But, we chose that, and, it's going to take a while to dig ourselves out of there. But, I listen to the Rational Boomer because Mike gives me hope every day, and it's like the Social Security thing. Like every day, oh, it's the end of the fucking world. The demons are coming out of the ground and take you to hell. Yeah, it gets like that, and that's why I don't listen to it. But a lot of people are scared, and turn that fright into fight. Go out
That's
there
the
and
thing that that's the thing that upsets me the most about what's going on. And I've said this before when I do the lives and I get somebody coming on that I don't know that's just
yeah,
there. I'm upset that they're talking about the prospect of messing with Social Security. I get Social Security, and in about 5 days, I'm going to be on Medicare. So I'm concerned about these things like anybody else. But I'm fortunate that I have other sources of income. It would be a big hit to me, but I'll survive. But there are people that come to the lives that are terrified because they have no clue how they're going to survive if they cut Social Security. And that's the thing I think I hate Donald Trump the most for. It's one thing to talk about it. When you take normal, innocent people in this country and you put them in a terrified state, that's fucking inexcusable. It pisses me off that this guy doesn't care and these people are suffering and are terrified of what's going to happen. And there's got to be some recompense for that. There's got to be some accountability when this is all said and done, because what he's done to this country is more than the actual stuff and the really fucked up stuff. It's what he's done to this country. He's basically an abusive domestic partner. And we've got a lot of people in this country that are feeling like they're abused, and that should not stand.
Yeah, and it's like that, when you try to help somebody and they don't want your help, they keep going back to that abuser, and that's exactly what a lot of his support are.
It is.
You get to the point to where I work, down here in Texas, you may be surprised, Mike, there's a lot of MAGA down here. I know that kind of surprises you. And I have friends of mine that have retired, and I'm not talking to them anymore, and that's their right. But some of us have to work still, and put on that cheery face to go out there and do that, be that, because you got to make a living.
Right.
But do I go out and I go after work with them? No. Do I text with them afterwards? Talking about national security? No. That's their thing, not mine. I just, I got to get through these years and do it. But I tell you what, man, once I can retire and live at home, on the weekends, I don't leave the house. It's like, why are you single? Well, goddamn, I don't go anywhere. And that's the way I like it. I don't have to, out there. And the older I get, the more Grizzly Adams looks appealing to me. I'm like, God, man, I almost got the beard. I'm getting the beard. Yeah. I wish I had the hair. All I need is get the bear and move up to, they have a lot of wilderness up there in Montana, or not Montana, Minnesota. I guess it's Montana.
All northern Minnesota is a lot of woods. Yeah.
I'm going to look for a Sasquatch or something. Maybe probably get along with Sasquatch more than Trumplefoot.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, the thing about it is what I found now that I'm 65, going to be 65 years old, you spend your whole life looking for things. You want to be rich, you want to be famous, you want to have all the toys, you want to have all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I found out what the answer really is. If you can just be content with who you are and where you are, that's the fucking win. That's the win. And if you have kids, if they're out on their own and they're doing well, I take that as a win, because that was my main job, raising kids and getting them ready to go out in the real world. And I feel fortunate that my kids are in that position, and I hope my grandkids are. That's why I'm fighting here for this, because my grandkids will feel the wrath if something doesn't change.
What? You're not upset that you didn't raise a Don Jr. or, Come on.
I got to tell you, if I raised a Don Jr., you would have never seen him, because I would have locked him in the closet. Lock that fucker in the closet, throw some bread and water under the door a couple times a week. And I would be embarrassed if I raised something like that. I hear people who say, yeah, my son's a MAGA. I got to tell you what, people say, what would you do if your son was a MAGA supporter? And I said, well, I don't know that I would have to do much. And they go, what do you mean? And I say, because there wouldn't be much left of them after mom got a hold of the motherfuckers.
Oh yeah. That's like, I don't, most of my family don't talk to me because, I said a few things about the orange Jesus on Facebook. But
oh my God, no.
They don't mind talking about their other, and it's so funny. It's like after Trump got elected again, I was like, well, now we need to get along. No, we don't.
No, we're never going to get along.
4 fucking years. And what did you do before that? I didn't vote for Obama, but some of the shit, what they did, it's like, but when their guys there, they want you to turn everything, turn the other cheek. And it's like, no, it ain't happening that way. And, I even, kind of got that thing too, to where, I had a cousin of mine that, was MAGA. But he helped me a lot when my father died, because me and my father weren't close, and he kind of answered a lot of stuff. And this is before Trump. Right. He really changed after Trump got elected. And I went to his funeral, and here I am, the way I look, I'm driving a Toyota, and they're driving all these big dually trucks. And I was up there, and, I said a few words. It's like, man, he really helped me out and stuff like that. It's you got to be a lot of times the bigger person. That's the way I am. And that's the way I choose to live my life. There's people that I don't talk to anymore in my family that I've made peace with that, that they don't like me for whatever, but I don't necessarily like them either. So, I don't really think it's a big loss. And
No.
kind of going back to what you're talking about, you got to be content with life. That's the one thing about life that sucks, is that once you get it figured out, it's almost time to die. Because it's like, God, I wish I was knew this much when I was in my 20s and 30s to get
Well,
this
thanks
much
for
peace.
brightening my day. Thanks
Well,
for
no, I
brightening
mean,
my day.
you think about it. I mean, once you get it figured out, most of your life's behind you, and that's both of us.
Yeah,
So
that's the that's the tough thing. I sit down with my sons and I try to tell them things I've learned. Sons don't want to hear what you've learned. People say, do they listen to rational? But no, they don't listen to that. They hear that shit. They get frustrated by it. Dad is an old man and he's out there and he shouldn't be because he's embarrassing us. And I don't know if they really feel embarrassed anymore, but I get it. I get it. That's not going to stop me, but I get it. Um, but I try to tell them things that I've learned over the years, and I don't know if they understand it. And I try to remind myself of what I was like in my 30s. And as much as my personality is similar to when I was in my 30s, I'm a lot smarter now. I understand some things more. And I don't think in my 30s I could have comprehended some of the things I comprehend now. That's just the way life is. Over time, you learn some things, you get better, hopefully. Not all of us do, not the MAGA fucks, but you learn some things, and I don't know if that's the way it's supposed to go or what, but that's the way it's been for me. I've not always been uh, a brilliant orator like I am now. I
that's
was a dumbass. I spent years as a dumbass too. I'm just glad I was be able to find my way through the woods and get out of that.
the thing about it is that don't be too hard on yourself, because you didn't have like what your dad you didn't have what you were given to your sons, and you had to learn through the school of hard knocks.
Yeah,
So maybe that's what your kids got to kind of learn. Maybe you gotta, it's like that old meme about the guy from Who Was It, Good Times, the dad, and
yeah,
the kid put his hand on the stove, and the dad like, bet you won't do that shit again. I mean, you gotta learn that. And I think my biggest thing is that what I had to do is it took me 40 it took me into my 40s to quit bending. I mean, to quit cowing down to my father. And it took him dying to make me realize, and I should have known this better too, but I was always turn the other cheek guy and do all this stuff. But honestly, when I lost him, and then I lost my brother a few years ago. My brother was a little bit younger than me, or actually 13 years. He was 33 when he died. That really, it in a lot of ways, tragedy in a lot of ways opens your eyes to a lot of stuff, because I used to be afraid to die, I guess, because it was so, it was so pounded into my head, and especially with all the music I listen to, I'm going to hell with the rest of AC/DC. But I got to the point when my brother passed away and my dad had died about, I guess, 4 years before that, is you get a real peace. And it's like you
yeah,
said, you mentioned something last time we talked about, well, there's been billions of people that have done it. I'm not afraid to die. And I think finally I got that. Like, it's kind of like when people, they tell you that you're saved. I never understood that. I never felt that, like, and if that works for you, perfect. But for
yeah,
me, when I started not to believe and become more agnostic, that's when I had the peace, because it's like, oh, okay, I shouldn't feel sorry, but there's so much guilt that religious and that right do to you. I mean, there's on the left too, but it's so freeing to be this age and not really give a fuck. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
you got to get to
And
that
it's
age where there's people that, I mean, they go through their whole lives worrying about that shit, but life's not long. I've had like 3 people I knew this last week have died, and
yeah,
just are different rules. I mean, you're getting to that age to where shit happens. I mean, it's always happened, but you're in your 20s and 30s, you lose somebody. Oh, wow, it's a tragedy. You get to it now and you're like, well, fuck, man, that's only like 10 years older than me, and
yeah,
you gotta enjoy while we're here.
That whole idea of billions of people have died, how hard can it be? It kind of goes along with what I've said. If you can learn two things, your life gets so much easier. Don't worry about what other people think, because people will like you, people will hate you. No matter what you do, that's not going to change. They may act a little differently in front of you, but they still fucking hate you. So who cares? And don't worry about those things you can't control. I was talking to my daughter-in-law who's pregnant. She's going to have a baby in May, my grandson. And she says, I'm really terrified. She'd never had a baby before, so she doesn't know what to expect. The unknown is very troublesome to a lot of folks. And I told her the same thing. I said, look, man, how many people do you know that have had babies before you? And she has a bunch of friends and relatives and stuff like that. I said, they did it. You're as smart and as strong as every one of them. You will get through it. It may not be pleasant while you're going through it, but it'll be temporary. And then after the fact, then you've got 18 years to be tormented by a fucking kid. So don't worry about the birth. Worry about the other 18 years. It's fun. I always tell stories about my granddaughter. When you get old, you think about legacy. What are you going to leave behind? And my sons, while they're brilliant and smart and successful and smart, they're nothing like me. They're more like their mom, which is fine, But there's nobody really like me until my granddaughter. She is such a smart ass. She runs all over the place, walks up to anybody and says, "Hi, my name's Junie. You want to play?" Wow. But she did something. Last time I was babysitting her with my wife. People may notice I'm wearing a light colored hat right now, and for a long time I've been wearing a dark colored hat, more like that color, like that color. But I had this dark colored hat on, and I'm sitting in the back seat with her because she and I and her dad are going to a park, indoor park, while her stepmom and my wife are going to a shower. So she looks at me and she grabs my hat and takes it off, puts it on her head. And she looks at me and she goes, "Look at me. I'm Grandpa Junie." And I go, "Well, yeah, that's all right." She goes, "I'm keeping this hat." I go, "Why do you want to keep the hat?" She goes, "Grandpa, you got so many hats. I'm keeping the hat." And I thought, fuck it. Yeah. Maybe someday, 20 years ago, she can say, "That was Grandpa's hat."
Yeah.
And then she can put it on and be Grandpa Junie again. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, when we all get older, we worry about a lot of stuff. And I told my wife when I turned 60 and I was kind of retired, I said, you know what? I got maybe 20 years, maybe 25 years left. We spent a lot of time toiling and going through trials and tribulations and tragedies. Fuck it. From here on out, I'm going to do exactly what I want to do. I'm not going to listen to shit. Well, except for my wife. That's a different deal. But I'm not going to listen to shit, and I'm just going to have fun. My wife says, we go out to dinner too much. So what? We're old.
Can't take
That's
it with
our
you.
social life, for fuck's sake. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was at I went.
Go ahead. No, I don't even know what I'm saying.
This morning, I stopped by the grocery store and I saw this old man come in. I mean, he's probably about 20 years older than me. And
like me,
going to the grocery store, getting this thing. It's like, shit, that's become my life too. I was like, shit, that's all I really do. I don't even go in the grocery store. I go and do the curbside thing. But it's like I used to, you always see old people early in the morning in the grocery store. I have become one of those people because you beat the crowd, you do all that shit. I don't like going to concerts anymore because there's too many people. Let's leave early. I mean, the older I get, the more I want to avoid people. And it's like, oh, that doesn't do good for a single man. But it's like, I'm to the point right now where I don't care. Just as long as there's not a big crowd at the grocery store in the morning, I'll be okay.
I know I'm getting old because my wife and I will go out to dinner a lot.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy, nothing expensive, but we go out to dinner a lot. And in the last 2 years, we've been going out because my wife sometimes will have to get up real early to go to work. She works at that airline and she gets up real
Yeah.
early and she gets home real early. It works out for her. She likes it. But we're going to dinner at like 4 o'clock, 4:30. This is the essence of being old. I would have never eaten dinner at 4:30 in my life. But you know what? It fucking works. When you're old, your body works different. I can't eat as much as I used to eat. I've even
Reminds me
gotten to the
of
point I knew I was old. There's a place we go where you buy a full rack of ribs, which is
oh
basically
nice.
two. And I love ribs, and my wife does too. So we'll go there and we'll buy one dinner, full rack of ribs. She takes half a rack, I take half a rack. We buy a couple extra potatoes, and that's all we do. When
Yeah.
you start going to dinner at 4:30 and you start sharing meals, you are officially old.
Yeah. That's like the old Seinfeld bit. Remember that when he'd go down to visit his parents and they go to dinner about like 4 or 5 o'clock. Like what? That's not dinner. That's like lunch.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. The only thing different about me, my wife goes to bed early, I go to bed really late. But being retired, I can get up whenever I fucking want. I need 7 hours, whatever 7 hours is after I go to bed, that's when I get the fuck up.
Yep, because you're retired and that's what you can fucking do.
And I'm content. That's the important thing we all have to strive for. Well, Jace, we're going to wrap things up as we do about this time. Thank you for coming on. I kind of called you short notice. I was thinking, what am I
No,
going
I
to do
appreciate it.
today? I
I
just did a
appreciate it.
live. I talked to everybody. I haven't talked to Jace for a while, so let's get that motherfucker back on. I took a
Yeah, and we,
flyer
we
and
need that.
sent you
And
a
my
text.
brilliance is needed. So, hey, that's what I'm here for to share my brilliance.
Absolutely. And you did, and it's much appreciated.
I
So
appreciate
those
you
of
having
you
me on.
listening, no, it's my pleasure. Those of you listening, I hope you have. Thank you for taking the time to do that. I hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.